Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video. I'm going to try to get some games in as well, but I did want to talk about some stuff in the meantime. So some really cool changes, not to Magic overall for our format, but some cool stuff that I just haven't gotten around to looking at. I've been super busy recently, and I'll get to the questions that I received later in a moment. Well, in a couple minutes maybe. But some of the cool changes to Magic format is Planeswalkers being legendary now, and you can have two Planeswalkers of the same type that don't share the same name. So that'll be a cool change. It makes things like Sisay look a little bit more appealing because now you can tutor up your walkers. It also makes blue two-color decks, blue-green, blue-black, or especially the Sultai deck, or the Atraxa Super Friends deck. Those style of decks, they look more viable now because suddenly the second Gideon or the second Jace or whatever, or the second Liliana isn't a bad draw because you can have both of them out. So that's cool. Other changes in Magic, there were no banlist changes for MTGO Commander, which is a... I'm not terribly surprised, I guess. Sorry, sort of trailed off there. I couldn't think of the right word. So I'm not terribly surprised that there's no changes, but I'm disappointed that there are no changes. Bittersweet, that's the word. It's sort of a bittersweet announcement. I'm glad that they're not changing too much right now, but I'm sort of disappointed that they, with Baral gone, that they didn't see fit to give us back the cantrips. And that's frustrating for me because the cantrips are one of the, it's not tutors, you're not giving us back all of the tutors, just the cantrips. Let us use that tempo, or give up tempo by using a cantrip for the offer of card selection in blue, because that's what blue's supposed to be able to do. It's supposed to have card draw selection type of variance, and I think that's why a lot of people like blue, is because you're not getting your card advantage in the same way that you would in something like black, where you're just, I'm going to Ancient Stirrings and draw 3 cards and lose 3 life, but now I'm up 2 cards because I spent 1, drew 3. So now I'm at +2 cards. It's just brute force card advantage. Whereas blue's card advantage is more of a dark number. It's the quality of the cards that matter to blue more. And that's part of the attraction of blue decks, because deciding which cards are good and which cards are in your present situation, which cards you want, which ones you don't, when you use one of these card selection spells, is part of the skill of being a blue pilot. And that skill is an attractive thing when playing decks, when building decks, is that if you can become more skilled at the card selection in the moment, in the deck building overall, you can be a better pilot, just for the nature of having that skill fine-tuned and your knowledge of your deck fine-tuned. And I think that's one of the interesting things that's truthfully lacking with how the format currently is, unfortunately. So, oh, wait, no, it's format. Why is this sorted like this? Okay, no. Convert mana cost. Now it's gonna load forever, right? There we go. All right, so we still get peak it's sort of selection, or it's sort of a dark number because you get info out of it. You get good probe, but we get serum visions. We lost Ponder, Preordained, Brainstorm, and truthfully, I think those 3 cards should be permitted in the format. Especially with Baral gone. I could see a reason to not include them because we can still play JVP, and that is an issue for this format, sort of. I believe we can still play JVP. Quantity. Jace. No, it's going to take forever to search. Yeah, we can still play JVP in the format. I saw the format fix on. I just don't have one on Moto. That's what I wasn't sure about. I have one on Moto and one I knew I had one on either Moto or paper, but I couldn't remember what it was. So you can still play Jace, which I think would probably be the death of Jace if cantrips come back. But I'd rather have cantrips than have Jace in the format. Because cantrips, you get to put 3 slots in your deck. Jace is only 1 slot in your deck or your commander. And there's other good mono blue options as well. You're not locked on only playing Jace or Baral for a mono blue deck. Excuse me. So that's my thoughts on that as far as the ban list goes. So I've been building a couple decks, and I've actually been working on some paper decks as well. So we'll get to that. So the new vampires for Edgar Markov, I haven't actually gotten to take a look at yet from the new set, unfortunately. So the deck is still as it was the last time that I played it on the channel. I've been playing it a little bit. Edgar spiked rapidly, and he finally started to settle back down some as far as the online price. So that's nice to see. So more people can play the deck if they want to. The only drawback that I see to Edgar decks right now is that it's a very linear game plan. It's play a dude, attack, play 2 dudes, attack, play a dude, attack, remove their thing. And turn 4, resolve one of your game-winning spells. Shared Animosity, Sanctum Seeker, Hellrider, Armageddon, Ravages. One of those spells resolved on turn 4 will probably win you the game, just outright. And even better if you can go something like Fire Covenant into Armageddon. Like, oh, you got no lands and no creatures, and I have 4 power worth of attackers. That's enough. That is enough to clear out a game. So, because it's such a linear game plan, I don't always like to play it all the time. Kess, I've built a working version for the time being. I think the differences between Nate's and myself is I'm not playing 4-mana Chandra, the red Chandra. I have something else in one of my 3 drops. I have one of my other 2 drops is different. I think I'm playing. I don't remember what else I'm playing, but it's similar. There's only a couple differences. He's playing Lily of the Veil. I think I might be playing Arena. That might be what it is. I can't remember offhand, but it's very similar lists, and this is sort of land destruction, sort of control. So I took it in a slightly more controlling direction, but the list is fun to play. Miren I haven't touched recently. Nin I've been trying to tweak around with, but she's still so tough to play. I think she's stronger in paper traditional ban list just because of the presence of Soaring Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. Those 3 cards alone make Nin so much better. Like, incredibly strong, because it lets you power out Nin once or twice. Like, if you have a Mana Crypt in your opening hand, you get turn 2 Nin, and then you can then cash her in for 3 cards the following turn because of Mana Crypt, which is a good trade for Nin. You spent tempo to draw 3 cards, and this is what. So Nin is fun because you get blue selection and red 1-for-1 removal, but you get sort of black's raw card advantage by way of Nin. You just raw insane card advantage, and that's what's fun about her. So she's neat. And then, but Mana Crypt, what I was saying was, you get to power out Nin for 3 on your turn 3, which is incredibly well. I don't think there's other legal cards in the format that will draw you 3 cards on turn 3, other than As Foretold, Ancestral. And you have to spend 2 cards to do that. Nin only costs effectively 1 card in your opening hand, which is Mana Crypt or Soul Ring. So you get 2 shots at it, basically. Or Mana Vault, actually, but that isn't as good in the next situation. Because my follow-up to that is on turn 4, you can run out Nin, again, because Mana Crypt covers that next tax for you. And you still have, conceivably, UU up to be able to protect her and make sure you untap with her again. And then if you activate her for 3 or 4 again, you're basically going to win the game because you've drawn 7 cards off your commander and no card investment, which is insane. So Nin is a lot stronger in the formats where those cards exist. Rashmi, I've actually played a lot, and we can go through a couple of my previous Rashmi games if you want to. This deck is very fun to play. I think I want something else and I think I might want Caustic Caterpillar in my 1-drop slot. There were some times when I had Green Sun Zenith or Cord, and I was trying to figure out like what my correct targets would be, and I wanted removal, but I wanted it lower down. So maybe Crozang Grip is the cut here, but I'm not sure. It's a tough call. This deck's really a lot of fun to play though. Sultai CDC I haven't touched, but it's really an opposition to Ranged Hermit deck. Well, it's really an opposition deck, which is just insane if you have Ranged Hermit opposition, because CDC can fuel opposition so incredibly well on our own. Surak is a tempo deck, straightforward. TNT Reanimator, I think I played this on the stream a little while back. And Yisan is as good as Yisan has always been. So this is an old version of Rashmi that I've been tooling around with. But I have some commander decks here, and this is Brian Weissman's paper Braille list that I'm putting together in paper for a control deck to take to my local meta. I think I might add... So Nate talks about, I want to say, or not Nate, Brian, sorry, talks about using Reality Shaper, Matter Reshaper, I don't know, the white Devoid Eldrazi that flickers a creature for colorless mana and 2, I want to say, with Karkland Ironworks to infinitely flicker Brea and create infinite mana. And then once you have infinite mana, you don't have to sacrifice the Thopters every time you flicker Brea, because you've created infinite colorless mana. And then Brea can deal damage to each player. So it includes one combo in it. And I might consider running it. I don't know. I like the idea of also going to my local meta without a combo in my deck for once, because I'm sort of known as the combo control player there at this point. My last deck was Idly Eternal Pilgrim Ad Nauseam, and it won off, most commonly, you would Necro your entire deck, or most of your deck up. Use Children of Corliss to gain back the 30 to 35 life that you just paid into Necro, and then pay another 20 life in to pick up half your deck, and at that point you basically have the tutors that you need to find whatever other combo you need. The other way that it won was having a protected Ad Nauseam after you Angel's Grace, so you can't lose the game this turn. Your life total drops to negative 50 or 60 or something by drawing your entire deck off the Ad Nauseam. And then you use Sickening Dreams, which is black 1, discard X cards. It deals X damage to each creature and each player. And you discard like 90 cards or 50 cards or however many you need. Because you have your entire deck in your hand, you literally throw your deck at your opponent's faces. And it's a satisfying way to win in Ad Nauseam non-blue. But I think this might be my next iteration of a deck to build. And it might be fun to play a non-combo deck for a while. Marin combo, and I was trying to figure out a way to make Scarab God work for competitive, and this is just like, it's stuff that's relevant basically for the deck itself, and it's a tough call. Like Zhai Hao Dune seems cool because you get double regrows off the god. Broodbirth Viper seems sweet because you can Myriad and it's draw, which is relevant. I think that's the only Myriad I actually included. Dreamstalker because you can Eternalize it or you can Scarab God it back. So, and it was like some attempts at things that would be good when you Scarab God them. We'll see. This is going to be more of like a 75 type build that I'm going to do for paper, in addition to the Brea deck, I think, because they won't share too many cards, thankfully. So let's get to some of the questions that you guys had for me. So I covered the ban list changes. That's done. That would highlight. So from Lablu, I watched the channel for a while. Thanks, man. I'm glad that you like my content. Will we play some 1v1 paper Magic games over Skype or Discord? Maybe have it as a Patreon-only perk, some food for thought. I've considered it. I wouldn't do it over Patreon-only because I think it would be fun. I've looked at the Play EDH server a couple times. I think I keep joining and then leaving the server, but I've considered it. The reason that I actually haven't really delved into that world is I don't actually own a webcam. It's a little bit tinfoil hatty of me, but I don't like having a webcam hooked up to my computer. But I might actually be buying one for one of my other games, which is Elite Dangerous, because I'm going to be having a head tracking system set up for that game, which means I would have a webcam to play games over Discord. Skype is now paid, so I will never use Skype. Skype, now that Skype doesn't do voice calls, or Discord does voice calls, there's no reason to ever use Skype. So let's just change your question, G, to games over Discord. But it wouldn't be Patreon only. I'd be happy to play some games on the Play EDH and just set it up as 1v1s or multiplayers. I'm happy with both. Ben, I played Maren on X-Mage. I'm guessing that's similar to Cockatrice, a free client. They use a card I haven't seen before, Fume Spitter. What do you think of it? I think I answered this in comments also, but it lets me talk about Maren as well, so that's why I grabbed it. So, where's Maren? So, Fume Spitter, if I remember correctly, it costs a black, and you can sacrifice it to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature. Fume Spitter. Yeah, so -1/-1 counter on target creature. While it's enticing, I think this falls in the same area as Spore Frog. Like, when it's good, like when someone's playing Maren against you and this is good against you, you just get wrecked. Like, you just don't understand how they keep having enough to keep you under, and you can't get past it, and it's so difficult to try to play against. And then in every other game where they're not playing against you, and that's how it always feels, trust me, when they get it, it's just garbage. Like, it's totally atrocious. Or like I'm playing a combo deck and they got Spore Frog and I just don't care at all, or something like that. So I see Fume Spitter as like, it's one of the two extremes with no middle ground. It's cute as removal for something like Bob or Dork or something, but like all of that's still mirror-esque stuff. And the reason I wouldn't play it, at least in this, is right now the commanders that you would care about removing are Jace and, to an extent, Breya. But Breya has 4, so good luck trying to kill her with Fume Spitter. Jace, you need to cycle Fume Spitter twice, and Jace almost always comes down on turn 1 or 2. Like, 2 is their slow draw. 3 is their, like, absolute insane slow draw, but that usually is off of the back of, like, a Sapphire Medallion on 2, which means you've probably lost anyway, unless you have a Nuts hand. So, like, Fume Spitter is not great in the matchups where you would want it, and it's downright bad in the other matches. All it basically does is guarantee that you get experience, which Maren doesn't really actually need help getting experience counters anyway. So, like, it's cool in some situations, but, like, it's a cute card. Like, some of the guys in my local metal would say that's a spicy meatball. Like, yeah, like, it's something, but it's not, like, something that you always want to be doing. And when that's the case, I don't think it's relevant, because you'd much rather just be using Sakura Chibelder, right? That guarantees experience as well, and this ramps you. Like, this thins your deck and ramps you. This is very situational, so that's why I wouldn't run it. All right. Answered them. And Salmon King, what jobs are you applying for? How stoked are you for the new Vampires trigger? So I sort of touched on the new Vampires. I haven't actually looked at them too in depth yet, so we'll see. If any of them should really strike my eye, I'll definitely be updating the deck, because I kind of want to try to keep that going. So even if I don't know what I'm playing against, or if I don't know exactly what's going on, I have an idea of a typical Edgar build that I can look at if I end up getting paired again in an Edgar matchup. So that's my thoughts on Edgar. For jobs, I'm applying for some state police positions. I don't really want to go into it more than that, but there are extensive applications and background checks and the whole nine that you would expect with a law enforcement government job. As I'm in the U.S., naturally, if you couldn't tell by my accent. So let's see if I can get some of these Rashmi games up. I haven't actually checked to see if these will record correctly. These were matches. So I think I bombed the first game, won the second, and then he scooped. Yeah. I'll know off the opening hand. I played these, I think, yesterday. Come on. Yeah, so I keep this opening hand. I'm playing against Nissa. So I have an opening hand of Sylvan Library, Root Maze. If I play Root Maze on 1, it guarantees that I won't get Library on turn 2. And I could play Skull Clamp on 1, hopefully have library on 2. But then, unless it's a green land, I won't have... but if it's a green land, I can't really do anything else on 2. So the other option that I have is I lead Root Maze 1. Accepting that I won't get turn 2 library, but I have another play that I can make on turn 2, which is Clamp, off the 1 land that I'll have untapped. So I decide to lead Root Maze 1. It's a risky hand. I have 2 pieces of draw power. Thrasios is sort of draw power late game. Rashmi is draw on her own, so I'm hoping that I can get there on this, and it doesn't actually pan out for me. And my opponent was sort of salty at the end of this game, but that's okay. So Root Maze, I pass the turn. My opponent tap land. I tapped like Ancient Doom, which is nuts. So if I hadn't done this, I would have had Library, Skull Clamp, or Shackles. So I could have had Skull Clamp into Shackles for no value, but I could have at least got it out there. I would have gone Library, though. So I'm going to get the Clamp down and pass with the Ancient Tomb down. So at least I got the mana to play Sylvan Library next turn. My opponent, like I was anticipating, has the Boreal Druid, which would have meant turn 2 Nissa. Now he's on turn 3 Nissa, so Root Maze has slowed him down, but now my Wild Growth sort of hurts me. So I believe so I prioritized Sylvan Library here. It might have been correct that I should have prioritized mana. It's a tough call here. Like, this Jace is basically dead in my hand for the time being because I don't even have 1 blue. And it'll take me 2 turns and then an untap to put in 2 blue. Pick up Fabricate, which is pretty good. I'm hoping to draw like a Forest here. I draw Earthcraft, and I don't see a land, so I have to take 8 to try to dig into the deck. I put the Wild Growth down. This Tireless Tracker was actually a much better play than turn 3 Nissa because it lets him present a clock. And that's the one thing that I wasn't expecting too early. And I think this is what lost me the game here, is that he's getting card advantage here. He gets Vital Force down and hits me with a land. So he's presented clock here, and I think that's what seals this game for me, is that I missed land in the top 3 cards here. Like, I would, like a blue land probably would have been the most ideal draw because that lets me put down Rashmi. That'll stop this from hitting me, or it'll force him to have to leave mana up to crack Clue. Rashmi would have been able to seal this game for me, I think, but unfortunately I didn't get there. I finally find the land, and it's just too late. So I scoop here, seeing that he's got the 10 power on board. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I scoop, and he just messages me like question marks and everything, like why'd you scoop? I just played out my hand, and then I scooped before I let him. And maybe he was just mad that he didn't get to actually do stuff on his turn, but usually I let people globetrot, but because this was a match, I was like, I'm not even letting time waste. So, oh well. Tough for you, opponent. So we wait the timer because that bug's still not fixed. And I will, of course, play first with this deck. I'll play first with most decks. And I see a nuts opening hand. Alright, so I got turn 1 Utopia Sprawl or Boreal Druid. The correct play is Boreal Druid because Utopia Sprawl will tap for mana effectively the turn that it comes down, provided that you enchant an untapped forest, which I'll have. Trop here, forest here. I can untap, enchant this, fetch Trop on turn 2, and I'll be in great shape. And Boreal Druid lets me... I'd rather play Boreal Druid first. So that's my line. Messages. He plays a Dork. I get TNN, which is also a great draw here. So I'm going to shortcut for a sec. So I get the Trop, and I Fabricate for Shackles. Off of this Utopia Sprawl names blue. I put it on basic because I don't want to be wastelanded, and that is the land that Nissa will play. And I go get Shackles because it's just insane in this match. I only have 1, but his Dork's 1, so it's a start. He goes with Urborg. Interesting decision. I actually would not run Urborg in the Nissa deck, but I can see situations where I want to. And he goes with the Hall of Gemstone. And I guess this is better in other matches, but against me, it would have been good if I don't have Utopia Sprawl giving me another color, because Utopia Sprawl actually adds the mana, it's not the land. So Hall of Gemstone doesn't change Utopia Sprawl's mana, which is really cool. Hall of Gemstone, I will choose, I'm going to say green. Maybe I think I choose green. Yeah, I choose green. Okay. So I'm going to cast a Gilded Lotus. And then because I only have the 1, I'd rather put TNN down and start a clock. I could have played Shackles here and then use Shackles next turn plus Capture. And that might have been correct, but my clock isn't, if I do that next turn, it'd be 5, 10. Or sorry, if I put Shackles down here, next turn it'd be 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't have 1 mana left, meaning I still can't put down TNN, and I don't have any clock. I want this capture to increase my damage by 3, as well as give me an additional turn, which is why I go with TNN here instead of Shackles. He knows I have the Shackles, so this, I'm giving extra information, but I'm also not exposing this to removal, so there's that to be said. Because if I put this down and I have Lotus down, he should properly remove Shackles instead of cutting my mana, because Shackles will lose him the game if I take his Nissa, most likely. So 4 mana, he gets Oracle into double land. All right, but at least he's drawing this next turn, and he's not drawing it off Oracle, or drawing it into play. This really is Green Jace. So I pick up Lotus Cobra, all right. So I believe I go with Capture here, yeah. And then I believe I deploy Shackles, yeah. So Capture is letting me deploy Shackles here and get some damage in. And I'm hoping to top deck an island so that way I can take this Oracle. Or actually, at this point, any land, because Lotus Cobra is in my hand. Any land. Oh, no, 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 because it's not 2 blue, it's 2 islands. I do need an island. Get Everflowing Chalice, all right? It hurts, but all right. I think I push out Rashmi here. Yeah, I do. So Rashmi down, and then I'm going to kick the Chalice for 2, which is enough to activate Shackles. And I take Fenhorn Elves in my main 2. I just want to deny him as much mana as I can. Because I can't take Oracle, I'm just going to take this now. I don't want him to even use this mana for an instant. He's not really attacking me with the Oracle anyway, so no big deal. This also keeps it tapped until my turn. Like if he destroys my Shackles, it'll go back to him tapped, and then he won't have a blocker. So Nissa comes down, reveals a forest, fine by me. Bird. All right, so lots of dorks, and this is the deck. Why the deck wants Nissa and needs Nissa as the commander, rather than something else, is because that +1 ability is the draw power that the deck lacks. Because now he's super flooded. He does have Primal Command on top of his deck, which is kind of his only good answer to Shackles at the moment. Because Primal Command will let him put Shackles on top of my library and then shuffle my graveyard into my library if he so chooses. So he can remove Shackles with it. I'm going to give it back here, because I'm actually still hoping to hit an island. I got Peek, so we'll Peek my opponent. Oh no, I go with Lotus Cobra first because of Rashmi, and I can Peek on my opponent's turn for an additional card off Rashmi. Visionary. Do I? Yeah, I Peek now, because I'm hoping to hit. I'm still trying to dig for this island. So he's got Eye of Ugin, so I guess that's a reason to use Urborg. Fine by me. So draw, get Grim Monolith. Yeah, I continue digging. Because I got another spell, I can keep digging for an island, basically. Because this will guarantee at least one more Rashmi trigger. Get Probe. I get Probe him. Dug 4 cards into my deck. Find Tezzeret. Well worth digging 4 cards into my deck at this point. So unfortunately, because I untapped Shackles, he got this back. And now is when I wish I hadn't. Because he wouldn't have had this mana. I would have had this mana to be able to use to help play out this Tezzeret. And it would have only left him with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana on his turn, which is barely enough to Primal Command. And he would have to tap out underneath the Winter Orb. Clank. Your go, opponent. And he makes an interesting line with this Primal Command that you'll see coming up. I can safely attack. I have blockers. And he won't attack with Nissa or Oracle. He'll most likely flip Nissa if he hits lands off the top also. So he draws Primal Command. Sees Utopia Sprawl. Fantastic. All right, that's not a land for Oracle, for Nissa to flip. So there's Eye of Ugin. That'll flip Nissa. Oh yeah, it was 1 off. I thought it was 2 off for some reason. I knew this when I was playing the game that he was going to flip. But now Oracle can't really attack, because I will trade Lotus Cobra for Oracle, just to get it off the board. So I believe he... Yeah. So he Primal Commands, and he searches his library for a creature, and he tries to remove... And he removes my Gilded Lotus to the top of my library. Normally this is very good, because you basically blank a draw. Because my deck is Rashmi, all you're doing is giving me a 5 CMC or a 4 CMC or less trigger for Rashmi, and I'm still drawing the card, but I might cast something for free. It might have been better for him to remove something like my Shackles, because that's 5 mana, but it's only a 2 CMC. It's sort of a weird situation. He hasn't used Nissa yet, so he's searching his library for a creature, and he's going to throw it into his hand. Fine by me. I believe he searches, yep, Reclamation. This one's blue. So he goes and gets Sage, and he was hoping to hit a land here. Oh, no. Reveal it, put it into your... Oh, yes, does go to hand. So I guess he was hoping to hit land here off the top, which would have allowed him to play Rec Sage. He doesn't. He uses Nissa, goes up, reveals Ancient Tomb. Well, that sucks. So at least I'm not too punished for giving up the Fenrir, because he would have still been able to play the Rec Sage off Bird and Tomb. So it hurts, but oh well. Reveals Conduit of Ruin. Fine by me. Rec Sage, bye-bye Orb. That's alright, I got a full untap. Like, this is what strikes me as odd. He Primal Commanded my Gilded Lotus, which, I mean, it is a Gilded Lotus, but the reason to do that is because I'm trapped underneath Orb then. I would only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I use Tezzeret up, 6, 7 mana, to be able to replay that Lotus. So, you're cutting my mana, but then you're giving me my mana back. See how it strikes as a little odd? Like, this might have been better hitting the Shackles, but it's a tough call here. So, in comes Llanowar, and so I'm really hurting on cards here. He's got a lot of mana, and the way to... But he's got only 1 extra card per turn, and the way to beat that, I think, is going to be card advantage. So I got Gilded Lotus. Let's use Tezzeret. You know what Tezzeret can get at 1? Skull Clamp. So his Tezzeret's got me 2 very good spells so far. And I'm hoping Skull Clamp will draw me into Reclamation Sage. Or not Reclamation, Eternal Witness, to put this orb back into play, which would be the ideal line here. Draw cards. Alright, that's nothing. I would like to tap some mana. I'll cast Gilded Lotus. It's my first spell, so I get something free. Get nothing. That sucks. Alright, Brian. Ooh, Brian's in. Cool. Lotus Cobra. Play land. Make mana. I would like to use Arbor Elf. And this might have been incorrect here. I probably should not have deployed Arbor Elf. I probably should have just clamped my Lotus Cobra and accepted it. Or clamped my Boreal Druid and accepted it. I believe I Serum Visions here. No, I clamp first. Alright. Because this is actually more digging. Get Crucible. It might have been correct to Serum Visions, draw the island, bottom Crucible, and something else. See... Find Green Sun Zenith, because I would have drawn that Zenith off that clamp then, and I would have had 1 more into the deck, which would have been Impulse, I believe. And I would have rather not had this Crucible. So, unfortunately, so looking at my mana, I'm at 3. I've already used Tezzeret, so I only have 3 mana. I'm a couple short, and I use Grim Monolith, so 3, 4. So I can go get Eternal Witness and get back Winter Orb, but I can't put it into play, which is a deal breaker. It's not a line worth doing then. So I know he's going to Conduit of Ruin on this turn. That hurts, but oh well. I'm going to try to restrict his mana as best as possible, I believe. Yeah, I think I take... Yeah, so I float green, I take his Dork, and then immediately clamp his Dork to draw some extra cards. Get a Jeweled Amulet. I believe I keep this in hand, because it's a spell that I can trigger Rashmi with if all else fails. Devoted Druid, so he's got Conduit of Ruin, and this puts a creature on top of his library, which Nissa can draw for him. Oh, I attack Nissa there with True Name, so that way he can't go down and try to attack Tezzeret. Because I want Tezzeret to go up and make me mana next turn. Because my plan right now with this Green Sun Zenith is to kill him with Craterhoof Behemoth, if he can't kill me. So he goes up with Conduit of Ruin, gets Emrakul, the Promised End. Fine by me. So he's got Sorcery and Creature in his graveyard. Alright, Conduit. Draw your Emrakul. So let's see his mana situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he missed on the land drop off of Oracle. He only has Emrakul in hand. He has 1 mana away from being able to slam Emrakul into play, and take my next turn, which probably would have been devastating to me. He gets to ram my board into his Emrakul, or some of my board into his Emrakul. I'll basically lose my entire board, except for TNN. I'll Tezzeret will minus for 0. I'll most likely have a tapped Grim Monolith tapped out, Green Sun for nothing. I'll be at a bad situation. And his correct line to do that is to play out my entire hand to guarantee that I can't play and then trigger Rashmi off an instant on his turn. So if he had hit land here, I might have lost this game. Oh well. So he does not get it, though. I would like to untap Shackles and take something else of yours. Thank you very much, opponent. Get a Windswept Teeth. Cool. I'll get... That's actually great for me, because that's 1 additional mana off my Lotus Cobra. So I'll shock for that. And I wanted to get an island here for Shackles. So I tap my mana, use up my mana, Green Sun for 8. Nature's Claim might have been incorrect. I should have just said no and let Nature's Claim go to my hand so I can claim one of my own things if I want to. But I give him 4 life by killing Hall of Gemstone. This was incorrect, but not that I think it matters. Put down Craters, take his Oracle in response to the trigger, so my whole team. So I effectively give my team plus, or if there's an additional 5 damage coming across, which makes up for this Nature's Claim, and it soaks up 7 damage coming across because now he has 2 less power or toughness to block with. I think he scoops to that. Let's jump to end of turn. Oh, it's not going to jump to end of turn. Oh, yeah, no, he scooped to that. So this was definitely a fun match against him. I really enjoyed it. So I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the board. 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Plus 24 is 33. No, that's wrong. 43. 43 damage coming across. Soaked by 5, 6, 7, 8. So he would have soaked 35 damage. So I didn't really make a mistake here with the Nature's Claim, but this isn't a spell that I cared about. I have a Gilded Lotus. I should have just held Nature's Claim. It's all about good deck construction, basically. And I know his hand. I'm working with known information, but it's just good business to not do it that way. Oh well. Okay. Definitely enjoyed this game, though. Uncle MMM was a good sport about it, and I think because he was critiquing my Root Maze keep, and he had said Root Maze hurt me more than it hurt him, and it's correct. My Root Maze would have. It's one of those cards that, like, if I fall on the correct side of that parity, or quote end quote parity, it's incredible. And if he had a slightly slower clock in hand, I would have been in great shape. But the fact of the matter is, he had a fast clock hand, and Root Maze is not meant for a fast clock game. So very much enjoyed it. I think I'm going to call it there. It was a cool match. That's why I wanted to show it to you guys. I hope I answered some of your questions. If you have any more, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my content to anyone you think might enjoy it. And you should see a link on the screen for Patreon now if you want to support me on there. Minimum pledge is just $1 a month, less than a cup of coffee, and you can help support this channel and the content that I make. See you all in the next one.